Sometimes we feel like something inside us is shutting down. It's not the heart, it's not the mind. It's something deeper, something you didn't know was there, but which, unbeknownst to you, has been regulating your energy your entire life. It happened to me once, one afternoon, for no apparent reason. I felt drained, as if a part of me had lost connection. I tried breathing, meditating, moving, nothing, until an old master, one of those who seek neither followers nor fame, told me a single phrase that changed everything. You ignore the center that holds your fire. I didn't understand at first. I thought he was speaking in metaphors, but he wasn't talking about a real place, an organ, a physical location in my body that I had learned to overlook because no one had taught me how to feel it. Not in school, not in science, not even in the spiritual practices I'd tried. And at that very moment, I understood that the true energy center isn't where they had described it to us, but deeper down inside. And it's been whispering all this time, waiting for us to finally hear it. Today, I want you to find out, not from theory, not from a book, but from your own body. Because what you're about to hear isn't just information. It's an invitation to reconnect with the most vibrant, intense, and forgotten part of you. So breathe. If you can, close your eyes for a moment and prepare to remember what has always been within you. No one at school or at home ever spoke to me about this organ. I never heard it in church or in books claiming to have all the answers about the soul. Yet as I began to study the ancient texts found not on the shelves of modern bookstores, but on faded scrolls, on carved stones, and in symbols more reminiscent of art than medicine, I began to realize that something was repeating itself. A shape, a dot, the center exactly between the heart and the belly, sometimes surrounded by fire, sometimes by a circle of the sun, in cultures that never knew each other. In ancient Egypt, it was called the throne of the soul. In Vedic tradition, Manipura is the center of power and will. The Taoists spoke of the middle dantian, the core of life energy. And in many shamanic cultures, it was simply the inner sun. And do you know what all these cities had in common? They believed that if this center were weakened, the spirit would be extinguished. Not the body, not the belief, but the mind, the silent engine that gives direction and meaning to everything we do. But we grew up believing that everything originates in the mind, that more thinking means more knowledge, and that our fears stem from something wrong up there. The strange thing is that this point is almost always blocked when someone suffers from chronic anxiety, constant fear, or an inexplicable emptiness. They don't notice it, they don't know how, but they feel it. They shrink, they can't breathe well. Their inner core shuts down, and the sad thing is that no one tells them, hey, maybe you're not broken, you're just disconnected. Because that's exactly what happens when this organ loses its power. The energy no longer flows as smoothly. It's like having an internal river with a giant rock in the middle. You can force the flow, push yourself, motivate yourself, shout affirmations to yourself in the mirror, but as long as this center is tense, nothing flows. And the most shocking thing of all is that this organ actually exists. It's not a metaphor, it's not something incorporeal or spiritual. It's there, right in the center of your chest and abdomen. Some recognize it as the solar plexus, others as the diaphragm, and some even connect it to the thymus gland, which is much more than just a component of the immune system. But the important thing isn't the name you give it. What matters is that you feel it, because if you don't feel it, you can't activate it. And if you don't activate it, your energy evaporates, it disappears, it switches off. Has it ever happened to you that you do many things, but none of them fulfills you? Do you wake up tired even though you slept well? What do you eat healthily? Do you meditate? Are you doing everything right? And yet you still feel like something is missing? That's not a failure. That's a disconnect. And it almost always comes from here, from this forgotten center, this organ invisible to the X-rays of the modern soul, but perfectly alive and waiting to be ignited. When I understood that, everything changed. It wasn't as if I had discovered a new technique or learned something different. It was like returning to something that had always been there. A feeling of warmth in the chest, of firmness in the abdomen, as if the body remembered even when the mind had forgotten. And I want you to start doing that too. Not to understand it, not to memorize it, but to feel it, to sense that center again. Return to the place where your energy is born, regulated, and released. because that place exists, and no matter how many times you've ignored it, it has always remained with you. For years, I thought the spiritual was superior to the physical, that energy could be felt but not touched, that the soul was something separate from the body, like a guest passing through by chance. But I was wrong, and I didn't understand it when I read it. I understood it with a single inhalation, a single deep breath that, without warning, transported me directly to a place I had never felt so clearly before, as if my body had a core, a kind of inner sun. And the most disturbing thing was the realization that this place wasn't metaphorical, but physical. It was right there, behind the sternum, above the abdomen, in a place that medicine recognizes but rarely acknowledges. Did you know there's a muscle that moves your energy more than your thoughts? A muscle that literally separates the upper part of your body, where you breathe, speak, and think, from the lower part, where you digest, feel, and build your emotional foundation. This muscle is called the diaphragm, and it's neither located in a floating chakra nor is it an esoteric idea. It's real. It's the focal point of your breathing, the bridge between your inner heaven and your inner earth. Every time you take a deep breath, you use it. And every time you're stressed, tense, or closed off, it contracts, closes, and hardens like a door. And that door often closes without you even noticing. This is where science meets antiquity. Because while doctors know that the diaphragm is essential for breathing, very few understand the emotional and energetic impact it has. A blockage not only impairs your oxygen supply, but also your nervous state, your digestion, your heart rate, and yes, it even affects the flow of your internal energy. It's no coincidence that the ancients called it the point of fire or the sacred furnace. It's also no coincidence that many power practices, from sacred chanting to tantric breathwork, emerged from this center. They knew this. They knew that this organ not only compartmentalizes the body, but also organizes it. It's the core of vitality, the boundary between mental chaos and physical stability. And here's something no one tells you. The diaphragm is also emotionally innervated. Yes, it has nerves that connect it to the amygdala, to the limbic system, the part of your brain that controls anxiety, fear, and intuition. Every intense emotion you experience, anger, sadness, fear, has an echo in your diaphragm. It sits there, tense, constricted, frozen. That's why we sometimes cry and don't know why we feel pressure in our chest. That's why we instinctively take a deep breath when something moves us. Because this organ reacts before we think. This organ feels for you. But no one has taught us how to free it, how to touch it with our consciousness, how to open that door, how to honor that center. We've been taught to think, to tense our stomachs, and to maintain control, but not to feel the true center from which life springs. And that's why you're here, because a part of you knows deep down that it's not about learning more or understanding new concepts. It's about remembering what your body already knows. It's about returning to the center that regulates your energy without asking for your permission. It's about breathing not just with your lungs, but with your soul. Now you know what it's called and where it is. But more importantly, you know it's yours, that it's always been yours, and that today you can finally start listening to it. Now that you know that this center exists, that it has a place, a form, and a function, the most important thing comes. Not to understand it, not to name it, not to analyze it, but to touch it from within. And not with your hand, but with your conscience. I want you to do something with me, something that may seem simple, but if you do it carefully, if you really do it, you may feel something you haven't felt in years or perhaps never before. Make yourself comfortable. It doesn't matter whether you're standing, sitting, or lying down. The only thing that matters now is that you're here, that you're giving your body 2 minutes, just 2 as a sign of respect, as a small bow. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Don't try to change it, don't control it, just observe it. Breathe in and out, as if your body knew exactly what it was doing. Now slowly direct your attention to the point exactly between your chest and belly. Imagine there's a small sun there, not a burning one, not a stormy one, a soul still as the dawn. Feel how it glows with each inhalation, how it expands with the air, and how it gently contracts with each exhalation. This movement, this buy-in, is your energy. You don't have to force it, you don't have to think about anything, just breathe, aware that this place exists. Now place one of your hands on this point. Don't put pressure on it, just support it. as if you were welcoming a forgotten part of yourself, as if you were saying, I see you, I feel you, I am here. And now, on your next inhalation, imagine the air isn't flowing through your nose. Imagine it's flowing through the center, this place that breathes for you, and as that happens, something begins to release. A knot, an old tension, a feeling you didn't know was still there. Let it out. You don't have to cry. You don't have to understand it. Just let it flow, because that's what energy does when you listen to it. Flow. This small act, laying a hand, breathing with presence, focusing on your center, may seem insignificant to a busy mind, but to the body it's a ceremony, a sign that you're finally coming home. You may not feel anything spectacular at first. Maybe just a slight feeling, a warmth, an expansion. But that's the beginning. Because if you do this every day, even if only for a minute, something changes. The energy begins to organize itself. Your body stops screaming with symptoms and begins to whisper truths. Truths you can only hear if you inhabit this center. You don't need to repeat mantras or complicate the process. Simply return here again and again until this place no longer feels like a trigger point and becomes your natural place of presence. And this, although no one says it, is a form of prayer. A prayer that comes not from the lips, but from the diaphragm. It's not about asking, and it's not about begging. It's simply about igniting your inner fire, igniting your life energy, igniting your connection with who you are beyond the noise. Do it today, do it tomorrow, do it every time you feel yourself slipping away, because the center moves not with ideas, but with attention. And today you simply touched it. Now you know. Not because someone taught you in a class, not because you read it in a holy book, but because you felt it within yourself. And that is not forgotten. The world may still demand speed. The noise outside may once again capture your attention. Your mind may be trying to regain control as always. But now there is a part of you, however small, that is no longer asleep. A part that silently tells you, I am here, I am awake, and I am ready to accompany you. This organ no one has told you about, this hidden place that seemed invisible, now has a name, a heartbeat, warmth, and above all, a memory. For the body does not forget the places where it has consciously inhabited. And this center, this core, this gentle fire will continue to remind you that it exists. Even if you forget about it for a few days, even if you shut yourself off again, even if you feel like you can't bear it anymore, it will always be there, waiting without judgment, like a beacon, like a root, like a breath deeper than thought. And that's the beauty of this journey. It's not a technique, a spiritual fad, or a tool you can use to achieve something. It's an act of giving back. Return to your body, to your energy, to your quiet power, to the part of you that has nothing to prove because it already knows who it is. You may not feel it every day. Okay, this isn't about perfection. It's about presence, about coming back again and again. Some days it will be easy, others not so much. There will be times when you feel like you've lost touch, but I promise you one thing. The connection is never lost. It only becomes clouded, covered with layers of noise, haste, and forgetfulness. Yet deep inside, it burns on, and all it takes is a breath, a pause, a hand on your chest for it to open again, for it to speak to you again. And each time you do, that center within you becomes stronger, clearer, and more present, until one day it's no longer just another practice, but your natural way of life, your anchor point, your silent compass, your inner altar. And there you'll understand that you don't have to run away from yourself, that everything you were looking for, the energy, the peace, the direction, was never outside, but always in the center, which you remember today. So don't close this video the way you close others. Don't just keep it as another piece of information. Do something else. Place your hand on that spot again. Breathe deeply. Don't say anything. Just feel, because that's the most powerful moment, the moment when you don't have to understand anything and yet everything makes sense. And if you ever get lost again, you'll know where the way back is. Inside, in the hidden organ that's always been waiting for you. Something strange happens when you finish a journey like this. When you turn off the noise, when you cross the threshold of the mind and finally enter your body. There are no fireworks, no applause, no certificate saying, you did it. There is only silence, a different kind of silence. Not the silence about what's missing, but the silence about what is finally being acknowledged. This inner space, this organ you just touched, isn't a magical zone, a switch, but a place to live, a territory you can return to, but also a place you can stay, because that's what truly transforms a life. Not the moments of enlightenment, not the sporadic rituals, but the decision to live differently within yourself every day. And this is where it begins. Not tomorrow, not when everything has calmed down. Every time you breathe mindfully, this center is activated. Every time you feel the lump in your chest but choose to let it go instead of suppressing it, listen to it. Every time you stop in the middle of the chaos and place your hand on your sternum, you're forgetting an exercise. You're coming back to yourself. Real change doesn't happen when we learn something new. It happens when we stop ignoring what's essential. And that organ, that fire, that center is the essential you didn't know you were missing. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to become enlightened. You don't have to give anything up. Just stay within yourself, like someone sitting beside an old flame, watching it dance, unafraid it will go out because you now know how to rekindle it. And you are not alone. Millions of people are awakening to this language, to this forgotten bodily intelligence. Not with formulas, not with theories, but with breath, with presence, with a silent gesture that says, I am here and I am living energy. You, too, are part of this new bodily memory that we are rebuilding together. And the only thing required of you is not that you explain it, not that you teach it, but that you live it, that you make it your own, that you incorporate it into your daily life, that you incorporate it into the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you make decisions. If one day someone looks at you and feels a sense of peace just by being near you, and they don't know why, you'll know it wasn't the title of the video, and it wasn't the technique. It wasn't the words. It was the moment when you returned to your center and, without saying anything, began to vibrate from there. There is something I haven't told you, something you may not have heard before. And this organ, this center we're talking about, not only regulates your energy, it also keeps your secrets. Not the secrets you hide from others, but the ones you hide from yourself. The decisions you didn't make, the words you didn't say, the paths you didn't take because you thought you couldn't. All of that doesn't disappear. It's stored, it accumulates, and in many cases it stagnates right there, at that midpoint between what you feel and what you express, between what you suspect and what you dare to do. Have you ever wanted to take an important step and felt a pressure in your chest or stomach, as if something inside you were tightening to stop you? This is no coincidence. This is your energy center, trying to protect itself from a life you sometimes endure but haven't learned to live. Because this organ not only contains your energy, it's also the place where your fears and your callings intersect, where what you deny and what you long for collide, and not always in harmony. That's why it sometimes closes itself, not out of punishment, not out of weakness, but because there are parts inside you that have not yet been seen, wounds you have not been able to name, dreams you have not known how to keep, and all this emotional baggage, even the one you do not remember, lives in your body, breathes with you, and often guides you out of the shadows. But here's the truth, which is liberating. You don't have to resolve everything to begin healing. You don't have to understand every trauma, every blockage, every trapped emotion. You just need to make space. Space for your energy to flow through. Space for life to move through you without fear. Space to live without having to control everything. And this space begins with a simple decision. Stop running away from yourself. Place one hand on your chest and say, I am here with everything I am, with everything I don't yet understand, but present here. This is the true activation. This is the most profound practice. It's not about learning something new, but about staying with yourself when you would have run away before. Because every time you consciously breathe from this center, you are telling your body, I am no longer afraid of what I carry within me. And believe me, your body hears it, your energy feels it, and your soul appreciates it. You don't need light. You don't need incense or heavenly music. Just presence, just sincerity. Just that moment when you decide to stop looking outside and become your own home. This organ doesn't want you to be perfect. It simply wants you to be there, to inhabit it, to listen to it without haste, to approach it without judgment, and to allow it to open at its own pace. It may take days, weeks, months. There may be times when you feel nothing. Okay, you're not failing, you're cleaning up, you're retraining your sensitivity. Because energy doesn't respond to effort, but to honesty. And you've just granted it access. Now this center is no longer a mystery. Now you know that a secret heartbeat slumbers within you. One that doesn't mark time, but purpose. One that's not about speed, but about depth. And the more you listen to it, the more you'll discover that all the energy you've been searching for out there has always been stored in your silence.